I'm Mark McInnes, outbound sales trainer and founder of Sales Development Australia, an outsourced SDR B2B sales agency. So let's get stuck in. Okay, so today I'm going to share some ideas about how you can handle the situation that you might get when you call someone and they ask you, is this a sales call? If you're making outbound sales calls, you've no doubt heard this from your prospects at one point or another during your time making those calls. It can often be a really curly one to answer for a couple of reasons for a lot of people. So what do you say when someone says, is this a sales call? We've all been there, right? You make a call and they say something like, is this a sales call? Or maybe they say, I'm not interested, even before you've said anything. So do you lie or do you tell the truth? Because you might try to rationalize a lie this way. If you're in B2B sales and you're an SDR, for example, it's not like you can actually take their money on the phone, can you? And it's not like you can actually sell them something there and then. So you might be tempted to say, no, I can't sell you anything. It's not a sales call. But then you'd be lying, wouldn't you? Because it is really a sales call, isn't it? This call is all about starting the sales process. So yeah, it's a sales call. And, starting a relationship by telling a fib, it's probably never going to be really a good way to start out, right? Okay, so what else do we do? Maybe do we say, well, yeah, it's a sales call. What happens then? Well, they're probably just going to get off the phone, or they're going to say, I don't take cold calls, and then hang up. And I've heard other people, like other trainers and that sort of thing, suggest you should, ask them about how their company currently goes about getting their new business. So, they say, does your company have salespeople? Is this how you'd like them to be treated when you're trying to have a conversation with people? Maybe like that, or something similar that even challenges their negative approach towards the calls. But I never like to pick a fight with a prospect on the phone because, let's face it, if you win the fight, if you win the argument, who loses? They do. And how do you think they're going to feel about you now that they've lost an argument to you? Are they going to feel better or worse? Yeah, I'd say worse. So I don't like that approach at all. It might make you feel good, but it's not really going to help you. Being a sales professional means leaving your ego at the door. So this situation is not really as straightforward as simply answering, what do you say next? We need to dive into why you're getting that challenge in the very first place. So think about it. If one of their customers called them up without any notice, do you think they'd say, is this a sales call? What about if it was one of their employees or even a current supplier who called them up without notice and they didn't recognize the number? Do you think they'd say, is this a sales call? No, I doubt they'd say that. So why is that? And this is the important part, right? The reason they're asking you if it's a sales call is because the very way you've opened the call has triggered a reflex action on their behalf, and that reflex is to get off the phone immediately, hang up. It's triggered that reflexive part of their brain that I call their crocodile brain, because it acts without any reasonable or rational thought. It just acts straight away. Chomp. You've sounded just enough like every other salesperson that they've ever spoken to, so they've made the mental jump to think you're a salesperson too and try to end a call as quickly as possible. So how do you know if you're falling into this trap? Well, go and have a look at your outbound calling script, and if it sounds anything like this, you're going to be in trouble. Hi, Bob. This is Mark from Acme. Is now a good time? So this opener and every variation of it, including permission-based openers, 27 seconds, etc., makes it very easy for that prospect to trigger their crocodile brain into recognizing that this is most likely going to be a sales call and they want out quickly. How do they do that? Is this a sales call? So what you need to do instead is come up with a strategy to not sound like every other telemarketer or every other salesperson that's calling them up out of the blue. So the first thing we need to do is review your pace and tone. Don't be too bouncy or too bubbly. Hey Bob, thanks for picking up. How's your day? Watch out for those exclamations or being overly enthusiastic. Excellent, great. That sort of stuff is not going to help you. If you're overconfident and over-enthusiastic on the phone, people can smell the commission breath a mile away and they become desperate to jump off the phone as fast as they can. So if you're hearing, is this a sales call? Or even, I'm not interested, early in the call, this is probably why. You sound like every other cold caller. So instead, think about how you could open a call if you were more likely to be a buyer or a regular customer without being misleading. How might that sound? So why not try something like this? Bob, I wanted to talk to you about Acme Corp. If you deliver this flatly without too much excitement, they won't know whether you're a supplier or a customer or a new vendor. Once you're in the conversation and you're in at the neutral level, you can look for a deeper level of engagement. So that might just be a follow-up line with, look, I'm from ABC Corp. Does that ring a bell? At this point, they're not carrying out their fixed action pattern. Their crocodile brain hasn't snapped shut, and you're probably going to get an opportunity to have a conversation. It's much more about the tone and the pace, the delivery completely, than it is about what you say. But try not to say something that makes you sound exactly like every other cold caller on the planet. Now, I do have to make a quick disclaimer here. In some instances, such as financial services, you need to, by law, tell the person who you are and where you're calling from early in the call. But that doesn't mean it has to be the very first thing out of your mouth. Yes, you need to be compliant to the rules and the regulations of your industry, and I 100% support that. But complying doesn't necessarily mean it needs to ruin your opener. Okay, back to tactics. Work on your tone, your pace, and the opener to try and get a more neutral mindset from your prospect when they first answer the phone. Well, actually, you want them to have a more neutral mindset from your prospect when they first hear your voice. Okay, so let's say that you've aced the tone and you've aced the pace and you're still getting run into, is this a sales call? So what we say is we go something like this. Hi, look, I completely get it, Bob. I hate making these just as much as you hate taking them. What about if I ask you a couple of quick questions, and if you still hate me in 30 seconds, you can hang up on me? Does that sound fair? There are a couple of specifics here I want you to take note of, but let me say it again. I completely get it, Bob. I hate making these as much as you hate taking them. What about if I ask you a couple of quick questions, and if you still hate me in 30 seconds, you can hang up on me then? Does that sound fair? There are a couple of specifics here that I want you to take specific note of, right? We are saying yes. Firstly, we're saying yes without saying yes. I completely get it, Bob. I hate making these as much as you hate taking them. So we're not saying yes and we're not saying no. So they're going to be pause a little bit before they make a response. Secondly, by saying we hate making them, we are sort of falling on the ground in front of the car. So you're making yourself super vulnerable and asking them not to run us over. Yeah, you've got us. And by asking, lastly, does that sound fair? Well, of course it's fair that they hear us out for 30 seconds. So they're going to say, well, yeah, that's fair. It works because we're making ourselves more vulnerable. It's actually one of the few situations I think permission-based selling works really, really well. We're getting their permission to stay in the call for just a few seconds longer. But your next piece is going to need to be nice and strong, and you're going to need to position yourself as an expert to get back on level ground. Thirdly, by saying, if you hate me in 30 seconds, you can hang up on me, makes it easy for them to see that there's a quick exit for them to do what they want to do. Hang up. And most people will think, well, I don't actually hate you, unless they're a psychopath, and then they're probably going to hang up on you anyway. So you might just get the chance to have a conversation after all if you go through this little script. So there you have it. What to do when you hear, is this a sales call? So in summary, 1, the reason you're getting this challenge is that you sound just like everyone else that's calling them up every day. 2, importantly, don't lie or try and mislead. 3, change your sound and your intro, your pace, your tone to be more neutral, as I discussed, so that they're finding it hard to label you as a salesperson or a telemarketer straight off the bat. Lastly, and most importantly, practice. When's the very worst time to figure out what to say? Just as you're about to say it. I love that. So make sure you spend plenty of time practicing so that you're not having the first time, you're not trying this the first time when you're talking in front of your customers. And lastly, let's not forget, selling is really tough, okay? Especially making outbound calls to people who aren't expecting them. No matter how good you are, we're not going to get a perfect 100% response rate all the time. We're not going to land a meeting with every call, and we're not always going to have great conversations. So don't beat yourself up about this stuff, okay? Only control what you can control. You can control your activity, you can control your mindset, and you can control the quality of the conversations that you do have. That's it. If you like this content, smash the like button and let's help other people find this stuff. I put out a couple of videos every month, and this will make it easier for you to get access to all the training content. I'm Mark McGuinness. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.